In this video I will show you how to get up to 20,000 silver in less than 40 minutes. The method I use consists of crafting gold bars at the witch and then selling them at the bank for 500 silver each. With this method I can get anywhere between 35 and 40 gold bars per in-game day, depending on how lucky I get with the ore drops. In order to craft one gold bar, you need 3 brimstone, 3 mercury and 10 silver ore. If you don't have the gold bar crafting recipe yet, you can find one on the 3rd floor of the Spire of Insight in Demenis and another one in the witch's hideout in Peilun, near the city. The only material that is limiting how many bars you can craft in one day is mercury, which is very rare and respawns once per day. There are only 2 locations on the whole map where you can find mercury, while there are many more where you can find brimstone or silver ore, so that's why you can't craft more than 40 gold bars per day. I also recommend having an armor with Blessing of the Earth on it as much as possible to increase the amount of brimstone and silver you can gather. Ideally, you should have a total of 100% chance to mine additional minerals. You can also get 30% from the mining knuckle drill at max level. You can get one Blessing of the Earth tier 3 by completing the Crystal in the Veins Sealed Abyss artifact challenge, which you can find in Demenis near the King Shield Mountains. You just need to find one of each ore to complete the challenge, which should be pretty easy. You should also get the mining knuckle drill for an even higher chance of getting more ore. You can get it from the Karin Quarry by defeating a weak boss. You can get more Blessing of the Earth Abyss gears by combining 2 random Abyss gear at any witch. I usually start my run by going for mercury first, since it's the only limiting factor, and depending on how much mercury I get, this will tell me how much brimstone and silver I need to farm. Open the map and look for this area in Peilun where the first mercury pond is located, right above the W in the Silver Wolf Mountain. There's an abyss nexus close to it, slightly above on the map. Make sure to save your game before starting, in case you mess up the gathering, to be able to reload. In order to gather mercury, you have to freeze it in order to crystallize it. In order to freeze things, you need to have the frost element unlocked. I have a guide on my channel on how to do that. There's also another way to do it using a special item, which I'll explain shortly. The amount of mercury you will get depends strictly on how much of the liquid you can freeze before it crystallizes. It takes 15 seconds for mercury to transform into ore from its liquid form, so you have exactly 15 seconds to freeze as much of the liquid as you can, using the fastest method you have. The single most efficient and fastest method to do it is by using the Glacial Domain from the Plate Helm of the Shadows, which you can obtain by defeating Beloth, the Darksworn. It's a pretty easy boss fight and I have a guide on my channel on how to beat him easily, so check it out if you're having issues with him. If you have the helmet, simply point your camera towards the pond, press and hold L2 plus R2 on the controller to start channeling the skill, and aim your camera at the liquid surface, such that you cover as much as possible before the skill expires. The skill has a 10 seconds cooldown and it's usually not enough to cover the whole surface. When it goes on cooldown, switch to your bow, make sure you have the frost element selected, and shoot frost imbued arrows at the empty liquid zones by holding the R2 button. If you don't have the helmet, simply use your frost imbued arrows with your bow to freeze the liquid. Try to cover as much of the surface as possible before it starts to crystallize. Once 15 seconds have passed, you will see the liquid disappear and the mercury crystals forming. Go and gather all of it and make sure to have your pet summoned so that it helps you gather it faster. If you did everything right, you should have between 50 and 60 mercury from the first pond. The second mercury pond is located right here in Deadfire Mountain, just above the Brimstone Springs. There's an abyss crescent right next to it, make sure to unlock it for fast traveling. Repeat the same process as for the first mercury pond and you should obtain between 50 and 60 mercury, maybe even more. Once you're done with both mercury locations, you should have anywhere between 100 and 120 mercury. Let's move on to brimstone, which is required in the same quantity as mercury, except this one is more difficult to farm and takes much longer to get the same amount as mercury. Keep in mind that if you got 120 mercury, you will also need 120 brimstone to craft all the possible gold bars. All the brimstone locations are here, between Hexe Sanctuary and Deadfire Mountain. You need Force Palm unlocked and Nature's Snare at level 2 in order to gather brimstone. You will see these weird geyser-like structures that have a yellow gas coming out of them. That is the brimstone gas. Each of these geysers has 3 holes. You need to cover 2 of the holes using Healing Force Palm to concentrate the brimstone through only 1 hole. Press and hold the button for Force Palm, aim at one of the holes and press the button for Healing Force Palm. If you did it correctly, the hole should now be closed and there should be no gas coming out of it. It might take a couple of tries since this whole thing is pretty clunky. When you've covered 2 of the holes, go to the last hole and make sure you're facing it and go as close to it as possible. Enter focus and start casting Nature's Snare by rotating the right stick on the controller. Keep rotating the stick and you should start seeing the smoke dissipate and you will see a yellow circle appear on the screen. Once that circle appears and it's shining bright yellow and the smoke has disappeared, you can press the Nature's Snare button to unleash the energy you gathered. This will shoot the brimstone in the direction you are aiming, which is why you should always aim at the geyser structure so that the brimstone doesn't fly off somewhere and you lose it. Look for the brimstone on the ground next to you and pick it up. It usually looks like one brimstone crystal, but it's always 4 or 8 of them stacked together. You will get 8 brimstone per geyser if you have 100% chance to mine additional minerals. There are a lot of these brimstone geysers around these locations, and the great thing is that they refresh once every couple of minutes, so you can farm brimstone infinitely. Just make a route and go from the first brimstone geyser to the last one, then go back to the start and they will all be refreshed. There are also some stoneback crabs located here, which you can kill to get an extra 2 or 3 brimstone quickly. Repeat the gathering process as much as you need to. Lastly, you will have to gather 10 silver for each 3 mercury you farmed to be able to craft all the gold bars. For example, if you gather 120 mercury, that means 40 gold bars, which means you need to gather 400 silver ore. I know it sounds like a lot, but silver is much easier to find and gather since there are so many locations around the map, and you get a ton of silver from each cave. If you have 100% chance to mine additional minerals, you will get 400 silver in no time. When it comes to silver ore locations, there's one right here in Peilun, close to the last mercury puddle we just cleared. There are a couple in Delesia, a few in Demenis, and several in Hernan as well. Check out this map to see where they are. In order to mine silver using the mining knuckle drill, equip it on your offhand slot, aim with the L1 button on the controller, and hold R1 to use it. Once you have obtained the required silver ore, go to any witch, for example the one in Hernan in the Witchwoods, and select Craft Abyss Gear. Select the gold bar recipe and craft as many as possible with all the materials you just gathered. Then teleport to Hernan and go to the bank. Select the gold bar to silver conversion and exchange all of your gold bars for silver. You can also choose to open a strong box and invest your gold bars instead, which will generate passive silver over time depending on your investment strategy. However, this method takes a long time to generate a considerable amount of profit, so I wouldn't recommend it. And now you're filthy rich, congratulations! Remember that all the mercury, brimstone and silver locations will reset once every in-game day, so you can repeat this pretty often. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.